Welcome to Reggie Sports Talk. I'm your host, RJ Kruger. Today, me and my guests and I are going to talk about the NFL playoffs. We've each filled out brackets, and we're going to present them to you and have you guys tell us what you think about them. And my guests today are Jack for the third video and Drew. You know them, you love them. I don't need to do any more of an introduction. So let's just get this underway. We're going to start off with Mr. Haran's bracket,
The
and
best bracket.
I'm going to share that right now.
You guys are going to look at this and be like, wow.
All right,
So,
Jack, here's your bracket.
I think in wise of the NFC, it's pretty chalked. Saints beating the Bears, I think that's going to happen if Kamara and Thomas both play. I don't see the Bears stopping them enough. Seahawks, Rams, definitely a low-scoring one. But I think the Seahawks are just a little better. Rams are always questionable. And then Bucs football team, not much to talk about there. I think the Bucs are just a better team. It's Tom Brady. They're not going to lose that game. So that would set up Bucs Packers. I think this one is the one that the Packers can lose. But I think if it happens in the divisional round, I think the Packers with the bye are able to get that one done. And then Seahawks Saints, I just can't trust the Saints to get far enough in the playoffs to win this one as well. So I take the Seahawks, and then I think the Seahawks are a mile behind the Packers. So I have the Packers blowing them out to get to the Super Bowl. In wise of the AFC, I think the Browns beat the Steelers. I think most people are picking the Steelers as of now after that Week 17 game. But I think the Browns don't have too much pressure on them in this game, and I don't really trust Big Ben with his age to really make throws in this game. So I'm going to take the Browns there. Bills, Colts, I think it's easily Bills. I think they're just that much better than them. And then Ravens, Titans, I took the Ravens. I think they're hot at the right time, and I think being on the road actually helps them with them always losing in the playoffs. They've been home in those two games. I think being on the road might help. And I don't know if Derrick Henry will have a big enough game to go against the Ravens offense. Chiefs, Browns, I think this is the matchup the Chiefs would want. I think the Browns defense isn't good enough to stop them enough. And if the Browns running game doesn't get going, they're going to lose. Bills, Ravens, I like the Bills there. I think that'll be close. I think the Ravens are just as good as anyone else in the AFC. But I think the Bills, Josh Allen's just been playing out of his mind, so I like him there. And then I still think the Chiefs are too good to have anyone take them down in the AFC. So I have them getting to the Super Bowl as well. And then I actually have the Packers taking them down in the Super Bowl because I think the Rodgers-Adams connection is a little too much for teams to be able to really game plan for. And I think teams will struggle with that. I know the Bears seem to have a decent game plan, but obviously that opened up Valdez-Scantling. So I think I like the Packers here. They have a good enough defense as well to get it done.
Okay, the one game that I really take challenge with is that first round Ravens-Titans game. I mean, we've seen that Derrick Henry and the Titans are able to control the ball, and sometimes it works, and sometimes he can put up 200 yards and they can still be in a tight game or lose a game. But I'm wondering why you think that they're going to allow 41 points to the Ravens, who, while they're controlling the ball with Derrick Henry. Do you just think it's going to be a
I think the
shootout?
Titans defense could let a breeze through. Their defense is, I think, the worst one maybe in the playoffs. I don't know who they're going to stop all game. I mean, we saw their game against the Packers. They were getting annihilated, and I think the Ravens defense is good enough to at least if they can force them to pass a little bit to get a pick or something like that. And I think with how Lamar Jackson's been playing, if he's able to run the ball good, I think they put up a lot of points in this one. But I do agree with if Derrick Henry is able to control the clock, maybe 41 isn't the number, but it'll depend on that.
And then my other one was the Browns over the Steelers. After seeing that game being close with so many Steelers getting out, I'm wondering how you think that the Browns are going to come back and beat them a second week in a row.
I don't think Big Ben is that much better than Mason Rudolph, honestly. I don't see how Big Ben's launching throws downfield, making big plays. I think Mason Rudolph kind of played that game with nothing to play for and kind of just sent it. I don't think Big Ben does that. I think a week off, honestly, will probably hurt him coming out of the gate. And if they can't get a run game going, I think the Browns, with it being a divisional matchup, they'll know how to handle him. And, I mean, if they get a pass rush at all on Big Ben, I don't know if I like him making throws there.
And then the Packers to beat the Chiefs. That's a pretty big pick, especially from a Bears fan.
Yeah.
What led you to that one?
I
Just the
think it's
Adams?
just a matter of the Chiefs have had games where they like look beatable, and I think the Packers are one of the hotter teams right now. If both of them get to the Super Bowl, obviously they'll both be hot. But if you give them 2 weeks, I think I like the Packers be able to have a good enough game plan on defense. And I mean, Adams is just hard to game plan because I think you see it when they're on offense. They kind of just look at each other and almost know where an opening is going to be. And it's like they don't even have to give him a designed route, it feels like, in order for him to get open. So I think I like Aaron Rodgers' poise right now to get it done. But I don't know. I think it'll depend on the Chiefs' running game to really be able to get something going to open up their passing game.
All right, I got a few questions for you also.
Mm-hmm.
My first question for you is, in that Bears Saints game, you said that if Thomas and Kamara are in, you think it's harder for the Bears to win that game. Let's say they end up being out. Do you think the Bears can end up winning that game instead?
I think they'd have a better chance, yeah. For sure closer than I have it. Do they win? I don't know. I haven't seen the Bears really win a game against a very good team yet, so I can't trust them to go out and win a game on the road in New Orleans in the playoffs of all things. When you see their performances, I mean, they lost to the Saints in a close one last time, and Foles was playing, so you'd think the Bears could win this one. But I just don't trust the Bears to win a game against a good team. They seem to struggle in those spotlights, so I think I trust the Saints a little more.
Okay, I respect that. I want to look at, in the divisional round, you have the Buccaneers losing the Packers. We saw the Buccaneers defense be able to hold down the Packers and have Aaron Rodgers throw a lot of interceptions, and then the Bucs just kept capitalizing on all those mistakes. What will be different in this time that the Buccaneers don't get blown out by the Packers?
I think it's just a matter of the teams are different now. I think the Packers are way better than they were at that time. Plus, that one was in Tampa. And, I mean, I also think about the Buccaneers. They have Tom Brady and Gronkowski. No one else on that team really has playoff experience. So to go into Lambeau and win a game, I don't trust them to win and the defense to step up. I couldn't name 3 players on their defense. I know it's a good one, but I just don't trust them to go in the spotlight and beat the Packers out of nowhere and all of a sudden go on a run for their first year in the playoffs.
Okay. How do you have the Packers being able to stop Russell Wilson by that much? 34-14 difference.
I honestly, I have the Seahawks going all the way there, but the Seahawks are shaky at times. We've seen past games. They've lost to the Rams before. I honestly just think if they get all the way to Lambeau, it would be good for them. And they'd kind of be satisfied with that. But we've seen them lose to the Giants. They barely beat the football team. I think the Packers are a mile ahead. I mean, they barely beat the 49ers last week, and they were pretty much playing most of their team. So I just don't trust the Seahawks to get enough of a defensive stop. Their defense isn't the same as it has been in the past. And I think the Packers defense is better than people think with being able to stop their weapons.
All right. And then lastly, how will the Packers be able to slow down Patrick Mahomes? How will the Packers defense be able to stop Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Robinson, Bell, Hardman, and literally anything else, Mahomes himself? How will the Packers defense be able to stop that?
I think the Chiefs have shown that they're able to be stopped. I know they have all those weapons, but they have been struggling more than they have in past years. I mean, they had that really close game against the Saints. The Saints have a pretty good defense. They let up 32. I think the Chiefs can definitely put up more than 20, but I think the Chiefs will almost go in thinking they're going to just win this game. Maybe not, but I don't see how the Packers don't just score every possession on them, if I'm being honest. Like against the Bears defense, they were doing that. I'd say the Bears defense is one of the better ones in the league. And when you're putting the Packers against every other defense that might be worse than the Bears, I don't know who's stopping them. And I think the Chiefs have enough big names on defense to get a pass rush going, to force Mahomes into more pressure than he's been in basically all season, and try to force some throws. He has thrown more picks than he usually does in most years. He looks a little human this year at least. So I think I like the Packers here with their momentum. It's hard to win 2 Super Bowls in a row. So.
All right, that's Jack's bracket. Now let's take a look at Drew's bracket. Let me get that up for you. And here we go. Drew, tell us about it.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
No worries. Okay, so starting out, we see an immediate difference. In that first game, I have the Titans taking it. I think Derrick Henry just controls the game. I'm really in on the Bills, clearly. So I have them taking up the Colts pretty easily. That Browns game, after seeing that last game be close, I know the Browns took it, but after looking at who was really playing on the Steelers side, not only in the quarterback position, but defensively on their defensive line, and some of their big name players were just sitting. And the Browns had to game plan that game like a real game, and the Steelers didn't have to use any of their anything they were hiding away. So I really think that they'll take that one. I think the Seahawks look good against the Rams. Yeah, Tampa Bay, Washington, come on. But then we get to the Bears Saints. It's gonna be a fight, but I think the Bears, assuming that we get some of our guys back, assuming Roquan can come back, I think we have a good shot the next week with the Bears. Packers. We had them in the first half. We had them. We were close. I legitimately think that they have a shot to beat the Packers. Coming off the bye, I think the Packers are sluggish with Adams, and hopefully they don't get that connection going. But I think they have a legitimate shot. Then working our way back up, Tom Brady's playoff experience, I think that wins him the game against the Seahawks. Like Jack was saying earlier, they've been shaky. Russell Wilson started off great, but I mean, their offense isn't throwing those 70-yard bombs every game, making it look easy anymore. So I think Tampa Bay has a pretty good shot there with the players they have and the experience in the playoffs. Again, I'm pretty big on the Bills. And I really don't think that the Steelers were that good ever. They won 11 games straight, or I think it was 11. They didn't deserve that, and I think that's going to show pretty quickly when they play the Bills, assuming they get there. The Titans versus the Chiefs, that's kind of obviously against a chalk pick, but I think that the run game that the Titans have, and then Tannehill is just good enough to force the DBs to not load the box and come down on the run. And I think that, like you were saying, Jack, I think that Mahomes looks human this year. And I think if you control the ground game and you're running the ball, there's nothing that you can really do to stop that. Then again, I'm really big on the Bills. So I think that Josh Allen coming back down, I think that he's going to win that game against the Titans. The Bears against the Bucks. I mean, we've seen it before, and I think if Mitch is rolling and confident, and our run game's rolling, I think we can be good. Putting up 35 against them, the score I'm less confident about, but the result against playoff Tom Brady would definitely be difficult. But history repeats itself. And then in the Super Bowl, unfortunately, I think the Bills take it. I just think that Josh Allen, I think he's fantastic, and I think he's severely underrated, even though he's getting more recognition.
Am I asking questions first?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. My first one's in the AFC. You have the Steelers only letting up 6 to the Browns and then letting up 35 to the Bills. What's like the difference between the Browns and Bills there offensively?
Okay, so offensively, I mean, the Browns have been battered the last few games with their wide receivers. I think they have a couple guys coming back, but regardless, the logic there was basically that I think that the Steelers are a much better team, but I really don't think it's going to be a shootout. The Steelers have been benching some of their guys on defense, and when they bring them back after seeing how close they could do basically with half their second stringers in on on the defensive front at least, I don't see the Browns putting in a touchdown, honestly. And then them getting stomped on by the Bills, I just think the Bills are honestly that good. I really don't think the Browns are that good, but maybe that's just bias as I've seen them play for the past. I mean, they haven't made the playoffs since I was born.
And then obviously I have to ask about the Bears here. First, how do you have them only letting up 12 to the Saints? Like, what's the key there with
That
if they
was
have like Kamara and stuff like that?
yes. So those guys coming back, hopefully something happens that restricts their playing time. Because if, like you said, Thomas and Kamara are back and they're healthy and they're 100% getting full game time, I think it's going to be difficult. The logic there was maybe they'd come out hot for a 2-point conversion attempt or try to do something. That was kind of one of my weirder score picks. It felt a little too like basic chalk pick, so I was trying to get a little fancy there at the bottom. That offense will be hard to stop, but honestly, Drew Brees without a running game, I'm not too afraid. Hopefully, we'll have some of our DBs, because I know that. I mean, we saw last week how we struggled with that, but I mean, we kind of held Aaron Rodgers to not completely tearing us up in the first half, but then once we lost our linebacker, we can't survive without a linebacker. Our best cover linebacker, and without our DBs.
All right, then my last question is on the Titans versus Bills. You have the Titans beating the Ravens, then the Chiefs, and then you have them only scoring 17 against the Bills. So, like, I understand you have the Bills winning the Super Bowl, so obviously you think they're really good. But, like, does Derrick Henry just have a bad game there? Or does, like, the Bills defense do something?
Yeah, so that was my thought process, was that I know he went to Alabama, so he's clearly a stud. But I think they're gonna have to ride his back for those 2 games. Like, to have a shot against the Chiefs, you're gonna have to run him an incredible 30 times. I think they run. I mean, I think they feed him the ball the whole game. They eat up clock, and they just see, okay, can we ride Derrick Henry to a win? And I think that's the only way they can get that done. So after 2 games, which I have here as close, like hard-fought games, I just don't think they're going to be able to feed him the ball and get the results that they need for the 3rd week in a row to beat what I have as the Super Bowl champion.
All right, Drew, I got some questions for you. In that Steelers-Browns game, how many yards of offense do you think the Browns will get by only getting 6 points?
Okay, so my logic there was 2 field goals. I don't think they'll score, but I do think they'll do pretty well. I just don't think that Baker's going to have I think he'll have 2 interceptions in the game. I think he'll have upwards of like 160 pass yards. I think they'll be running the ball mainly, so I'd put their total yards around 280, 315. I mean, I think they can move the ball. I just don't think that Baker's not going to be able to turn it over. I just don't think he has the experience there. Um,
Okay. This question's coming by how you made your bracket. We've seen the Bears lose two horrible games to the Packers. What will be different this time in the playoffs?
okay, so obviously the offense struggled, but in the first half we saw fleeting glimpses of what the Bears could be. Um, and I know I've mentioned it a couple times already, but that Roquan Smith injury and not having our defensive backs, I think, was extremely vital to the Packers' production at all. I think there were 2 3rd and 4s that ended up being major plays in the game. One of them being a touchdown, which just showed me how close we were um, to being able to make the game close. And then once we lost that momentum and started to see that Aaron Rodgers was going to be able to pick us apart, I think it fell apart from there. But I truly do think that the game was closer than the score showed.
And my final question for you is how can the Bears beat the Bucks again? Do they have to go back to Nick Foles to beat Tom Brady's kryptonite one more time, or do they keep rolling with Money Mitch? What's their key there?
I love that question because that one I thought about. I was like, okay, you have Nick Foles just sitting there waiting, but I don't think if you're coming off 2 wins, 2 pretty strong wins against the Saints and the Packers, if they do get there, there's no way that they're gonna sit Mitch. I don't think, unless somehow they win on the back of Montgomery to the defense. But I would say that you play Mitch because honestly, I think he's better when he's confident. When he's rolling, he's good, which I think he's shown us through those fourth quarter comebacks and just how he can get hot. So if he's hot for 2 games and coming in against Tom Brady, I think he's got something to prove. So I think he takes it.
All right. All right. Thanks for your bracket. Now I'm going to show you guys mine. Let me get that one up really quick. All right. So starting off in the AFC wild card, Titans Ravens. I have the Titans winning 35-28. I think Titans will win this game because Lamar's not won a playoff game, and the Ravens will not be able to stop Henry again. I just think of the last time they played each other in the playoffs and Henry turned Thomas into his lead blocker. I just think Henry in the playoffs, he just gets going and they won't be able to stop him. So the Titans will win this game. The Ravens will want revenge, but the Titans will have a last-second drive and score a touchdown at a 28-28 game and score at the last second to win. Colts versus Bills. I have the Bills winning this one, and I have them winning it handsomely, 42-28. Bills will win this game because Josh Allen has been really hot. Whether he's throwing the ball to Cole Beasley or Diggs, Allen can't be beat. When you cover his wide receivers, which is really hard to do, Allen will run on you. Rivers never really does good in the playoffs either, and I think those will continue because the Bills' defense will be able to stop the Colts. A big thing for the Colts in that game will be their running attack, and I think the Bills will be able to shut that down pretty fast. Browns Steelers. I have the Steelers winning that game 28-17. I think the Steelers will win because of what Drew was saying. Last week, the Browns only won by 2 when half the Steelers team was out. And no one really on the Browns has a lot of playoff experience. But you look at someone like Big Ben, who has a lot of playoff experience, and I think letting him into the playoffs and giving him the Browns in the first round is something that will help Big Ben just get the Steelers rolling into the playoffs and get them going. Looking at the NFC, Rams versus Seahawks, I have the Seahawks winning that game. We all have that being a low-scoring game. That's just something about that game that makes it low-scoring. The Seahawks just beat the Rams 2 weeks ago. Also, I don't think Jared Goff will be 100% throwing the ball, which will hurt the Rams in this game. And I think that the Seahawks will be able to win this game because of that. Buccaneers versus Washington. I have the Buccaneers winning that game. the Buccaneers will win that game because they're a stronger team. Their defense will not be able to be stopped, and Washington's offense of Brady, Brown, Godwin, Gronk, Fournette, and Jones will be really good. And if they have Evans coming back, that will be really helpful for them. And Washington has a great defense, but I don't think that they'll be able to stop Tampa Bay. Finally, Bears Saints. The Bears will win this game. The Bears have been scoring a lot of points lately on offense. Thomas and Kamara are both questionable, and even if Kamara is back, I don't think he'll be 100%. I don't think after having COVID from a week ago, you're going to be 100% and being able to play. We saw Lamar be sluggish in his first game back from COVID, and I think the same thing will happen here with Kamara. And if you look at the overtime game that the Bears had with the Saints earlier this year, Kamara was a lot of the Saints' offense. So I think if he's sluggish and not 100%, that opens up the Bears to be able to stop the Saints in that game. Going to the divisional round, I have the Chiefs versus the Titans. I have the Chiefs winning that game 42-35. I think that will be a big shootout game. I think whichever team is able to get one stop could win that game. And I just think the Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, can get one pick just randomly that could just turn that game around and set up the Chiefs to win. Bills versus Steelers, I think the Bills will win that game. We saw the Bills beat the Steelers earlier this year. And again, I just don't know how you can stop this Bills team if you're the Steelers. They have all the momentum. Everyone's talking about how great Josh Allen's been, how great Stephon Diggs has been. And I just think that will continue in the Steelers game. Seahawks versus the Buccaneers, I have the Buccaneers winning that game. Like Jack was saying, the Seahawks haven't been looking that great lately. I think, like I said, they'll beat the Rams because Goff isn't 100%, but Brady and his offense will be 100%. So I think that the Bucs will be able to take care of business there. And unfortunately, this hurts me to say, but I think the Packers will beat the Bears again. The Bears just haven't been able to stop the Packers this year. We tried everything we could last game, and we still didn't beat them. So I think the Packers will unfortunately beat the Bears one more time this year. Finally, in Championship Sunday, the Chiefs versus the Bills. I think the Bills will win that game. It'll be a shootout game, a very close game. Really fun to watch. But I think the Bills defense will be able to get that stop needed to beat the Chiefs in that game. Finally, the Bucs versus the Packers. I think the Buccaneers will win that game. The Buccaneers will beat the Packers like they did earlier this season. Todd Bowles and his defense are able to make Aaron Rodgers throw some interceptions. And I think the defensive line will be able to get past the banged-up offensive line, and Brady will dice up the Packers' defense. I just think that Brady and Todd Bowles doing everything they can to stop the Packers will be the reason that the Bucs make it into the Super Bowl. And then in the Super Bowl, I have the Bills winning that game. It will be a great Super Bowl, fun Super Bowl, really high scoring. But I think the Bills will be able to sneak out a last-second drive and a last-second field goal to win the game. What do you guys think?
All right, my first one is the Bills beating the Chiefs. The Chiefs beat them earlier in the season in Buffalo on like a Monday afternoon game. Do you think the teams are just different now, or what do the Bills do that makes them beat them this time?
I think the teams are different now, but like you said, it was a Monday afternoon game. I think just like COVID messed with the schedules there. I think knowing what time your game's going to be at and not having it shuffled around a lot will be able to help the Bills. And also just coming off the hot streaks that they are scoring-wise, I think they'll just be able to sneak one out there.
All right, next one I have is Buccaneers Packers. How do you have I understand the Bucs, it's like Tom Brady and they're really good and they beat him earlier in the season, but how do you have that team going into Lambeau and beating basically an MVP Aaron Rodgers?
Todd Bowles in the defense. In run games travel. So I think the defense will be able to stop Aaron Rodgers again and make him throw some interceptions. I think Todd Bowles is a great coach, and he'll be able to get that defense ready. and then run game travels, like I said. So Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones running the ball against the Packers defense. As we saw last year in the NFC Championship game, the Packers, if you get a good run game going against them, will just let you keep running all over them. And I don't really think that's changed a lot this year. And I just think Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette will be able to have a big game against them.
All right, then this is my last one. Bills Bucks. So you're talking about the Bucks here beating the Packers. What, like, are the Bills just the best team in the playoffs, do you think? Or are they just, or like Buccaneers going to choke in the Super Bowl? What's going to happen there?
I think it's a little bit of the Buccaneers choking in the Super Bowl. And then I also think what it is, it's that game planning against Aaron Rodgers and game planning against Josh Allen is somewhat similar, but I also feel like Josh Allen has been pulling the ball down a lot more than Aaron Rodgers. So I think Josh Allen, not only having Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley to throw to, and then Singletary and Moss running, you also have to worry about Allen running, which I think will tire out the Buccaneers defense. And I just think that the Bills defense will tire them out enough to be able to kick a field goal at the last second.
Since Jack took all the big games, and I agree with you on most of the games on the higher end of the bracket or the lower end. Hypothetically, if you had the Titans, because you have the Titans-Chiefs game being a close game, so I'm wondering what you think would happen if the Titans did beat the Chiefs. Do you think that the Bills, are you less confident in the Bills playing the Titans? Or are you just as confident in them beating them?
I'm just as confident in the Bills beating the Titans. I think I just had the Chiefs beating the Titans because I didn't see the Chiefs getting eliminated in the divisional round. But I think regardless, I think the Bills make it to the Super Bowl this year.
Okay. And then my other one was the Steelers putting up 21 against the Bills. So you said you're pretty confident against them. Do you think the Steelers are that good, or do you think that they're just garbage points that, like, the Bills would already have the game at that time?
I think it's like 35-14 with like 3 minutes left, and then the Bills are playing prevent and give up a touchdown and then are able to just kneel it 3 times. Yeah, I think the Bills have that game pretty easily, and then just like I said, give up a garbage touchdown at the end.
And then how'd you do it to the Bears in their jersey? The Bears Packers, you just don't think they can stop Rodgers?
I don't think they can stop Rodgers, unfortunately. And then also, as we saw, if our team's banged up, it will hurt us. I think if our defense is banged up, we'll be able to get past the Saints because of Kamara's injury. But if we don't have Johnson and we don't have Screen and we don't have Smith and we don't have Mooney, I think that, unfortunately, the Bears will lose that game. Also, I think the lack of playoff experience that Mitch Trubisky has, that Aaron Rodgers does have, I don't know if I can have Mitch Trubisky going in the Lambeau Field in the divisional round of the playoffs and knocking off Aaron Rodgers, unfortunately. I would love it to happen. I'd love the Bears to prove me wrong, but I just don't know if it could happen.
That's all the questions I got.
All right.
I wanted to squeeze one thing in here. They just said that the Browns coach and 2 other coaches now have COVID. So I will be switching my pick from the Browns to the Steelers, which completely shifts the whole AFC. I don't know what I'm going to change. But if that game doesn't get moved back, I'm definitely going to take the Steelers there now if they don't have their coach coaching the game, because that's kind of a big shift there.
Okay, it sounds like we changed his mind.
I think so too.
I think a phone notification did.
Okay.
Well, all right. Thanks for joining us, guys. Had some fun there. And yeah, thank you for everyone for joining in and watching this video. Who do you think will make the Super Bowl? What are your predictions for the playoffs this year? Let us know down in the comments below. If you have any questions, let us know in the comments down below. Please like, comment, and share this video. maybe you'll see Drew back next week when Ohio State beats Alabama. See you then.